Hi, I'm Elizabeth Fry from Intero Real Estate Services, and I'm sitting here today with Tom Filippi, who is the visionary and president of the Play4All Park.
Play4All Park Inc., yes.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And so he was just explaining to me a little bit about Play4All Park Inc. and how it got started. So I'm going to ask Tom to give us a little background on that.
So originally, the idea came from a visit to my daughter who lives in Round Rock, Texas. And she was telling me about this park, and we went over and visited it. And over the years, I've probably been to the park half a dozen times. And during one of those visits, my son, who lives in Dallas, Texas, came down to visit. And as we were sitting around visiting and talking and watching the grandkids play, my son came up to me and he had big tears in his eyes. And I was, Matt, what's wrong? And he said, I just saw the coolest thing ever. I just saw a little boy help a blind girl go down a slide. Mm-hmm. It was at that moment that I thought to myself, and in fact I said to my family, we need to bring this idea to Vacaville. And so what I did when I got back is I drew up a sketch of the idea. I went to the local Rotary Club, which I've been a member of for 36 years, and told them about the idea. They loved the idea. We formed a committee, and we started working on it. And that was about 5 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how far is it along now?
Well, we've been fundraising actively for about the last year and a half. Our budget is $4.4 million. Mm-hmm. That includes land, infrastructure, play equipment, those kinds of things. And we're probably in the fundraising effort about 2/3 of the way there. Mm-hmm. The land is being donated by clients of mine that own the surrounding property. It's about 7.5 acres, and they're donating it free to our organization.
May I ask who that is?
Yeah, it's D.R. Stevens Company and Hartford Land Management. The D.R. Stevens is out of San Francisco. Hartford Land Management is out of Sacramento. Mm-hmm. They jointly own the property, and they'll be donating it. The most of the infrastructure for the parking lot and some of the other grading improvements are being donated by Tyker Construction. Mm-hmm. They are the two major sponsors of the park. And then we have other sponsors. Obviously, Rotary Club's been heavily involved. All the design services are all being donated. So the civil, the surveying, the construction management, the architecture, the landscape architecture, all of those services are being donated by various design professionals in our community. And then we have other in-kind donations. Pacific Hardware is a big sponsor of the park. And so we're making great progress, as I said, 2/3 of the way there, and the hope is that we can be in construction next spring.
Great. Wow, isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing about this community, how this community comes together? When this community is asked, they come, and I've seen it more than one place, that's for sure. That's great. Awesome. So as far as like the approvals through the city, all that stuff's done and ready to go?
No, not yet. In fact, that's part of the reason why we're waiting till the springtime for construction. This land is part of a larger project called the Farm at Alamo Creek. It's a 750-unit subdivision, and that project is required to have an EIR. And the city has asked us to have our park be part of that environmental impact report. Mm-hmm. So that EIR is due to be completed in the next month or so. Mm-hmm. We're hoping for the project, the farm project, to be at the Planning Commission in September and the City Council in October. Then the land has to be annexed into the city, so we have to go through LAFCO, and that will probably occur at the January LAFCO meeting. So the approvals we hope to be done by January, and then we have to get get the final improvement plans approved by the city, and we're hoping to be in construction in the spring.
Wow, it takes a lot of work to get something like this through. So, what's been your greatest challenge?
I think initially sharing the vision and having people understand the vision and understand what we're trying to do. It's a concept that unless you've seen it, and there's a few now in Northern California, a few of these kind of parks that are basically set up for children, what we like to say is for children of all abilities and disabilities. So every play structure is aligned for the kids that may have disabilities or may not. It's designed to be fun. But initially, some folks thought that this was just a park for kids with disabilities.
Right.
So there was a concern that we're trying to segregate kids, and we're not. That's the last thing we're doing. We're trying to integrate the kids. But all of the features in the park are designed so that it can be compatible with kids with disabilities. So, for example, most of our parks in town are all not fenced. And this particular park, the main area is all going to be fenced. And well, what's the reason for that? Typically, what we've learned is that a lot of kids, especially with autism, for example, are known to be runners. They are known for kind of taking off. And so we want to have them have a safe space, and we want the parents to be able to know that their kids are safe. And so not only do we have it fenced, but we have what's called a vestibule gate system to get into the park. And that means there'll be a gate, and then about 15 or 20 feet later, another gate. So that if once they're inside, the parents can be kind of listening for the clanging of the gate, and they'll take a look and see if their child is maybe trying to take off. So they'll have some time because they'll get through one gate, but then they got to negotiate a second gate. So that's one of the things we learned down in the park in Round Rock. And so we have a lot of really neat features. Our big main play structure is about 8,000 square feet, and the entire play structure has a wheelchair accessible ramp all through it. So while a child with disabilities may not be able to participate in every single function, they're in the heart of the action. And in most of the parks here in town, the big main play structure is in a sand pit with a big concrete ring around.
So Tom, is that the map of the park there? And
yeah, this is our latest map of the layout of the park. And if I could, I'd like to just take a minute and go through some of the features. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is the fence that surrounds the park, and this is the vestibule gate system. So as you were to come into the park, we're going to have, our proposal is to have a small fountain here, and this will be a brick plaza, and we can talk about that more in a little bit. Then we have a little bit of a splash pad for the kids. Now, one of the fun things that we've come up with this plan is we have two ballparks. And what's kind of interesting about both of those is they're 1/3 replicas of two iconic ballparks. So this one up in the upper left-hand corner is a 1/3 replica of Fenway Park in Boston. And we're going to have a little 1/3 replica of the Green Monster, which will be really fun. Now, most of the park will be just the regular chain link fence, but each of the dimensions of this ballpark are 1/3 the dimensions of the actual ballpark.
Do you actually go out to that ballpark and measure it off, or do
Well, no, you can go online and find out all the dimensions, and it's pretty cool that way. And so, but when you're there, we'll really emphasize this Green Monster. So it'll be a big green wall that'll be 1/3 the height. The big fence in Fenway Park is 37 feet high, so ours will be 1/3 of that.
Yeah.
And then we'll paint it green, and we'll label it the Green Monster. And so that's what's kind of fun there. And this is 1/3 the dimensions of AT&T Park in San Francisco. Now that kills me to do this because I'm a diehard Dodger fan, but I know where I live, and so we have a replica of that, which The right field fence is what we're going to try and replicate, and on the outside of that will be what we call the Wall of Fame. And the Wall of Fame will recognize all of the major donors that have committed to helping sponsor the park. And so obviously we have presenting sponsors, which I mentioned previously, D.R. Stevens and Hartford Land Management, which are the landowners donating the land,
Yes.
Tiger Construction, and then all the other various levels.
So what's it take to become a sponsor?
Well, you can talk to us. That we have different levels. We have $5,000 levels, $10,000 levels, $25,000 levels. So depending on what an individual or business would like to do, they can be recognized on the Wall of Fame. Right now, the minimum donation for recognition on the wall would be $5,000. We do have, as I mentioned earlier, a brick plaza, and folks can go online and buy a brick,
Oh, nice.
and it's $100 for a brick, or a large brick is $200. So they can have a family name put on there, or whatever they'd like to do. And so those will be printed very similar to the plaza outside Disneyland.
Yeah.
Similar kind of concept.
Yeah, what a good way to leave a legacy in this city.
I think so, yeah. So the other features of the park, we also have up in this upper right-hand corner, 2 dog parks, a small dog park, which is on the right, and a large dog park over 30 pounds. So we have an area, and the tie here is a lot of kids have service animals, and so now we have a place for them to come to the park and bring their service animal, and as well as for others in the community that want to have their dog. One of the other things we have is a path around. It will be not only a concrete path, but the outside of this is a 4-foot, what we call decomposed granite path for joggers. So this is exactly 1/2 mile. So a lot of times folks like to get out and do their exercise, and they want to know a measured distance.
Yeah.
So that's exactly a 1/2 mile. This is the 8,000 square foot play structure, and you can see this is a ramp where a child in a wheelchair would be able to get in, part of the action. We have swings here. One of the swings that we're going to have will be have little ramps on it, so a child in a wheelchair can roll up and be on the wheelchair on the swing and swing right next to their friend, even though they're still in a wheelchair.
Oh.
So we're really excited about that. Then we have some other play structures. Our theme is planes, trains, and automobiles, so we're hoping to have an airplane and a little train, and this is going to be a VACA village, and kids on their scooters can go around here, and then these will be what's the term, faux building fronts, so false fronts, so different businesses that are sponsors will have a false building front that the architecture will be designed to
Yeah, that's
match
neat.
them, and they'll basically be picnic structures. So from the inside here, it'll look like little buildings, but they'll be picnic structures.
Wow. Now, did you take the design that you saw and improve it, or what, did you take it and say, let's just replicate it?
Well, it's interesting because what we saw in Round Rock is totally different than what this is. The theme of having a park that's accessible is what we took.
Okay.
But in Round Rock, they have enclosed buildings, and we didn't feel comfortable with enclosed buildings. We like the idea of having ballparks for Challenger League. So, for example, this is rubberized infield and a short AstroTurf outfield. So these ballparks can be for Challenger League, City T-ball. They can be for adult wiffle ball. But in Round Rock, they don't have any ballparks.
Gotcha.
Now, I've gotten to know the people down in Round Rock about their park, and they like some of our ideas, and as they expand, they may take some of our ideas. We've taken some of their ideas, like this big play structure is very similar to theirs. The swing, that wheelchair swing I'm talking about, they have down there. the idea of a businesses in a setting like this is similar, although ours is different. But and we're having dog parks, and they don't have dog parks.
Right.
One of the things they have that maybe in a phase 2 we could do is they have a very cool Formula One path, so kids in their scooters can act like they're on a Formula One racetrack.
all right.
It's really fun.
Well, it just looks like you've packed a lot of activities in a small. I mean, it's not that it's that small, but you really made a good use of space.
We've
Awesome.
tried to, yeah. We've been working on it, as I think I said, for 5 years now.
Yeah.
So that's our.
Great. So, what impact do you think it's going to have on the community?
That's really going to be hard to tell. I can say that in Round Rock, I in discussions with them, their Play4All park is used 10 times more than any other park in town.
Wow.
And initially, they started off with a 2.5 acre plus or minus park, and they just tripled the size of it. So it's actually almost 4 times. It's about 10 acres now. And on our website, we reference all of that. So if it's anywhere close to the impact that they've had in Round Rock, Texas, we think this will be one of the most heavily used parks in town.
So the question I have right now is who's going to maintain it?
Well, that's the great thing, and one of the things we've talked about a lot with the city of Vacaville. We're raising money to build it with private funds, and our goal is to then donate it to the city of Vacaville. They've agreed to maintain it.
Right.
We as a committee are looking to still fundraise even after it's built for those extra dollars for maintenance.
Right.
So it will take some extra funds, but we're planning on having one major fundraiser a year that we think in our last major event we raised $90,000 at a dinner at the event center, and so $50,000 a year extra
Right.
funds.
That'll make all the difference.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So, what do you love about Vacaville?
Well, I love the fact that, it's been a great family town. I raised 5 children here. It's been our home for 38 years. And, I love the fact that my business is here, my family was raised here, and it's been a great opportunity for us to build that. And that's part of the reason why we want to do this. I've had my own business here for 35 years. And, when you get to that point in life, you want to try and do something to give back.
Right.
And that's what this is all about.
Tom, so if we want to donate, where do we go? And where do we find out more information about this?
The best place is our website, which is www.play4allvacaville.org. And if you go to the website, in there's a donate tab as well as a little store. So, for example, you could buy a brick, you could pay for a bench, a table in the picnic area. If you had more funds, you can donate for other things. So there's a whole bunch of different opportunities for people to donate.
Well, that's great. And, you business owners out there, think about maybe putting a link to Play4All website on your business page, and let's get that word out there. Yeah.
We appreciate that very much.
Good. So Tom Filippi owns Filippi Engineers, and he's been around for a long time. He does a lot of projects around here. He's made a big impact on this area. So we thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Appreciate your coming by.